everybody, Nikki from Gracie's house. I'm a brand ambassador for Redesign with Prima, and today I've got some little projects to show you today. You're going to have to excuse all the mess in the background. I'm trying to work out of my kitchen at the moment because we're back to homeschooling for the time being. So I'm hoping to come next week again and have some furniture to work on, but today it's just a couple of small projects. So we're going to be looking at stamping. Do you know what? I'm just going to pop a comment because then I can normally see your comments and it makes it better. Okay. So I'm going to be looking at stamping. I'm going to be looking at some flat surfaces. I'm going to be looking at some textured curved surfaces and just how things will work. So my first thing to work on, I've been making some little table risers. So I had some of these discs, they were just pre-cut. As you come along, just drop on and say hello. Can't see any numbers yet, so I'm hoping everything's working properly. And I've not seen anyone come on. I'm hoping we're okay. So yeah, I had these pre-cut plywood discs. So I'd actually decided I was going to use these. I can see some numbers coming on now. So I'd actually decided to use these for a different project. I was going to make some signs. And then I was looking through my stash of bits and pieces, and I decided that this would be a really, really cute little project with the new stamps and some transfers as well. So this is basically, so it's a disc. I've reused some little pine knobs that have come off other projects. So 3 on each one. So it's another little handy reuse for those as well. If you can see, I've used the trim. So I've used 2 moulds to create trims on. I've done 4. So I'm not going to be doing the moulds, but it's just to show you. Hi Roz. So this one's Regal Trimmings. So I've used this one here and this one here and the little sort of rope looking one. So I've used those 3, and then on one of them I've used Agadir patterns, and I've used this one with the sort of flowers in, the thinner one of the 2. So that's before painting. This is how it's looked. I did photograph one the other day. So that's all painted up and with 2 of the stamps used. So again, different set of matching knobs, but just cute. So that one's got that's a different trim on that one. So that's kind of what we're aiming for today. And I've pre-painted, and I've done one with a smooth, just a nice pale blue. So that's the Agadir Patterns one. Cute, hey? You could put like a little cake, you could have it as a little cake stand, a cheese board, cute. So that one's just 2 coats of chalk paint. This one, I don't know if you can see the texture or not in that light. So this is different trim. I've not done underneath on this one. This one I've kind of dabbed to give it that textured look with Hubbard Squash chalk paste. So rather than brushing it on as you would a normal chalk, this has just got more texture. So I've dabbed it on, and I'm going to show you how I did that. But I did some pre-work here as well. So we're going to start with this one. I'm going to just move them out of my way. Okay, so I'm going to pick one of the stamps. So these are Icy Paris. This is the Icy Paris stamp set. So there's a couple that are really similar to, I've got it out because they go well together. Classic vintage labels, the transfers. So they go really, really nicely together. And some of them are similar, but obviously the scale is slightly different. So on this one, I think I'm going to go for something a little bit prettier and go for the, can you see that? The sort of floral scrolly. I'm just going to do that in the middle. Am I going to do that one? No, do you know what? I'm not actually. I'm going to do that one instead. I'm going to go cafe because this is probably going to have food on it. So I'm going to go with the cafe one. I'm going to go with this one, cafe. There we go, that's the right way around. So this is stamping onto a textured surface. I'm going to just use some chalk paint for this one. If I can get the lid off. So how's everybody doing? What's the situation where you are? Like I've just said, we are back into homeschooling territory, which is really fun this time around. Where's my stamp gone? So I'm just going to use just a cheap art brush. You really don't need to load your brush up very much at all. You don't want it. What you don't want to do is when you're using paint, you don't want it to seep in into all of the bits, because you'll lose the definition when you're stamping. So it's really for me important not to overload. When I first started testing these, I used way too much paint. So it's literally a really, really fine coat. Don't feel like you've got to fill in all those gaps. And the things with stampings as well is it's a bit more of a handmade look, I think. So I don't think it matters so much if you missed a spot. So just so that you can see, that's how much I've put on. It's not much. I'm using a dark charcoal grey. The Hubbard Squash is like a very, very, very pale peachy pinky colour, like a dusky blush. It's very sweet. I can stand up just so that I line it up properly. It's a little habit I get into. And I'm just going to press down with my fingers. You can't see what I'm doing. Let me tilt the camera down so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. That's better, isn't it? So we've got some jars to work on here as well. But this is just for these little table risers. You could put your sauces, salt and pepper. Just make sure. Let's have a little look. There we go. I've missed a bit in the middle, but the beauty of these is that because they're aligned, but because you've got the print on the back, you can go and fill any, if you so wish to, you can go and fill in those spaces afterwards. I'm trying not to be too heavy. I've just used my other brush, never mind. Let's put you over there. So I'm just going to fill that gap in. I'm going to line it back up again. And push. I may not have just put pressure on that part when I did it the first time. It's entirely possible. There we go. So I've filled in the gap. So that's cute. And then I've also got out, as you saw on the darker, the grey one that I did, I do like these stripes going. I'm going to go the other way with this one. So my second stamp set that I'm working with here is called Stripes. So this is the one with the numbers, and it's got two different stripe patterns. Now personally, for these smaller projects, I like this one because it gives you an even set. Whereas on this side, fine for a bigger project, but because I'm going for something a little bit more even, you could take parts off of it if you wanted to as well, but I'm going to be using this one. And the other thing is, I'm not going to be using the whole stripe. I'm going to go this way on this one. I think it will look sweet. So I'm just going to paint that section because that's all I need to do on this one. So just to let everybody know, I haven't seen any comments, so we might be having one of those days again today. Last week we seemed to nail it, or you've not commented yet, which is also possible. So let me know where you're watching from, let me know you've come on, say hi. So as I'm sure you've already guessed, and if you've watched before, I'm in the UK. So I'm going to pop that down this side here. And I do want to line it up because there's line in the middle. I do want to make sure I'm at least level with that. Okay. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I like that there's bits that aren't completely, and that's down to me not putting the pressure on. I like that. I like that sort of handcrafted look that the stamps can give you. If you are a little bit more, if that's not good for you, if you don't like that handmade look, you can use a block, which will give you more even pressure. So it's still achievable to, you know, it's a cleaner finish is still achievable with these stamps if you use a block. So this is on, let me just remind you, this is on the textured background, and you know what, it goes on just as easily as it does on a smooth background for this. I'm quite impressed. I was thinking maybe it would be more tricky. I mean, there's not masses of texture, admittedly. And you can, they're really easy to wash off. You just rinse them under the tap. If you've left them for, if they're that fresh, you could go and wash them off straight away. So that's that one. I quite like that one. I'm quite pleased with that one. So I've got my pale blue one. And I'm actually going to use a transfer for this one. So this is part of that classic vintage labels set. I'm going to stamp more on curved surfaces in a minute. So this is the classic vintage labels. So there's lots and lots and lots to cut up and use individually on this one. Let's get that in the camera there for you. You see? So I've picked out nothing too exciting, but just a little bit of squirreliness on there, and I'm going to stick that right in the middle. I have to find a stick. There's a stick. I've seen. And I'm eyeballing it. I've not measured it at all, so let's hope it looks even. So this is over to just two coats of chalk paint. So it's not sealed first, don't need to with the Redesign with Prima transfers. Are you all having your morning coffee? Am I waking you up, or are you waking up to me, should I say? There we go. So that goes on nice and smoothly as well. I just think they sit quite nicely together as a set. I think they work really, really well together. I chose to go to the dark charcoal, just so it's a little bit softer. But you know, the colour combinations are endless. The inks are awesome as well. I'm waiting to get a few more inks in. Okay. So that's those ones. I could stick some stripes on this one, in fact. Should I stick some stripes on here as well? I think that would work. Let's just do it. It's only paint. I can paint over it if I don't like it. Awesome. So Gracie's been getting in on the act with stamps. She's been playing around with the stamps when I get them out too. So she's been enjoying being home. I'm just going to pop it there. I think. Oh. If there is any comments, then I'm not getting any. I'm not ignoring you. I will catch up with you at the end. Roz is here as well, I think, in the background. And she can pick up anything that I miss. Oh, look, you see, I put too much paint on that one. But I actually don't mind because it's making it darker and the transfer's darker. So I don't mind that too much. I'm not going to repaint it though because it's probably got plenty on there from just then. Although I'm not layering, you can obviously stamp over transfers and you can transfer over stamps too. So although I'm not, you can see how you can work things together, you know, the mouldings that I've put on there as well. All the products work really, really well together. There we go. I quite like that. I don't mind. There we go. So that's another one. So we'll move on to the next. I'm not going to put that on there because that will rub off on the feet. Okay, I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put that over there for a moment. So I've got a selection of jars here as well. So I thought these two sets of projects went quite nicely together. I've got all sorts of jars. These are kind of, you know, those available from IKEA and the like with the sealed lids. These ones I find a bit more difficult to do the chalk painting on because obviously you've got all the metal and the rubber seals and stuff. So I thought this is my last piece of Lovely Ledger. It's my last Lovely Ledger scrap before I order a new one. And I just thought because it's sort of confection sweetie, so Gracie's going to have this as a sweetie jar. And again, it's kind of going with the theme that we're working on is that kind of linear finish. So I've got that one there. I've got a small one, which I'm going to be sticking on. And again, we're back to the classic vintage labels. So this is a small piece. I might have to trim this one down, but I'm going to pop that on the front of this jar. I'm definitely going to have to trim that down. So I'm just going to take a little bit off the bottom. And this is curved surfaces as well. So it is more tricky, but I think that's going to fit just about. So I'm going to do that. I just think it makes, you know, they don't necessarily have to be relevant to what's in the jar either. Whoops. I just think it makes it, if you're using clear jars, I think it's a really cute way of prettying them up and just giving yourself something that's a little bit different to what everybody else has got. Now, like I said, I haven't painted these ones. I've got some that I have painted, and that's what we're going to be stamping on. I just personally, I think some people, because you have mason jars more than yeah. And I think they're similar with a similar clasp. Maybe I'm wrong there. I'm not sure what the lids are like actually. But I just find the painting around all the metal work gets messy. So I'm just working from the middle outwards because it's a curved surface. And then as you work and the top paper releases, you can kind of shift it round as you need it. And there's going to be a little bit there where it kind of overlaps, and I'm just going to put a little snip through there, and a little snip there, just so that I can get that laid down. And then I can do kind of overlap them a little bit. Not really a big deal. I'm just going to lift that up if I can get in there. So I'm lifting that piece up so that I can then place the bit that's where I've done the snip. If that makes sense. There's a little bit of overlapping there, but it's not going to notice enough to worry about. And then, as I said, as you get to the outer edges, you can just work with it around the curve. you can see what I'm doing. Doing my best there. There we go. Typically smaller is actually fiddlier. And of course we've got that funny little edge there. It's not stuck on the edge. There we go. Just needed folding a little bit there. That bit can be pushed down. There we go. Tricky one to see actually until it gets up close, but that's quite cute. I like that one. So, you know, these little ones, and these would look great in the bathroom filled with cotton wool balls, you know, the makeup pads and everything. I think these are really sweet. Okay, so I have two plain ones with normal lids. I'm going to show you. I didn't bring a brush over. Let me just grab a brush. I'm going to just show you the way to apply, or the way I've applied the chalk paste. So we've got the two different colours here. This whiter looking one is chalky white, and the sort of pale colour is the same as the riser. So that's the Hubbard Squash. It's a real sort of pretty blush colour. That's the one I'm going to do the lid on that I haven't done yet. So if you haven't used these before, they're really great. You can use them for like raised stenciling, just creating texture in general, but you can, you know, you can put something a little bit more behind it. So again, I don't know if you can see the texture that I've created there. And for these particular items, all I've done, I've made sure everything's really clean, and I'm just dabbing it on. There's two coats. The first coat, just because they're pale colours, gives you a nice coverage. You could leave it there, but I did two, just to give more of a complete coverage. So I'll show you, if you were to just, you see how you can see the consistency of it. Can you see? It's thick. And you could brush it on, but you would, you know, a bit like a really thick chalk paint, you would get brush strokes galore. So I prefer to use this sort of dabbing motion. And if you, of course, once this is all dry, if you added, you know, some clear wax and dark waxes, if you wanted to age it up a little bit, they would sit into all those crevices quite nicely. As well. Okay, so you get the idea. That's how I've created the texture on these two pieces, on these two jars. Okay, so we're going to go back to our stamps. Which one shall I use for one of these jars? I think I'm going to go for one of the bigger ones. The Queen Bees, I think I'm going to go for on that one. So bees and queens. See? Cute. I'm going to stick with my charcoal colour, just because that's what I have open, but I think it will look nice. I think it will all tie in nicely. So again, I'm just trying to hit the high spots rather than kind of push it into all of the nooks and crannies. Try not to get it on my hands, my tablecloth. And then you just need to get that on a relatively flat surface. I'm going to pop that there. Just stop it rolling that way, and then I can stop it rolling the other way with my hand. Let's just get you closer to the camera. Can you see? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do it my way so that I get it level. And a similar sort of thing to using the transfer on a curve. Start from the middle and then press outwards. Because if you're holding the middle down, even if you release it, you can still press back down in the same place. And I'm going to go and do the other side. Make sure all my bee wings and all the little... There we go. Cute. So the lid obviously is the one that we've just worked on that. And I was thinking, you know, you could wrap Hessian string around this, or put some, you know, sack ribbon. I think they'd be really, really cute. I've got one more. So this one's slightly different. This one's a bit older. This has got like a fully kind of shaped glass lid. So there's no rubber seal on this one. This is a bit older. This is the one that I've done in the chalky white. Chalky white, let's get you the right way, there we go. So it's a really nice sort of vintage white. It's not too clean. Let's pop that over there. It's not too clean. That one's nice. I'm going to go for this on the big one. Actually, I might use two on this one because it's a big jar. So I've got that section there, and I've got some extra writing that I might use as well. I might just use some of the writing. Yeah, okie dokie. So I'm going to use charcoal again, just because that's what I've got out. I'm using paint more today. I've done some demos with the inks. So I just thought I'd stick to paints today. You could also use a roller to get your stamps set up and give yourself a nice even coverage of paint. The sets that you combine with the 4 foam rollers in, that would work really well. Right, I'm just going to take the lid out so it doesn't fall out, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Let's just pop you lay you down. Right, so I'm going to go up here with that one. Again, I'm starting in the middle, and I'm going to work my way out to the edge. But I always want to try and maintain the pressure on the middle so that it doesn't move anywhere. And I can have a little nose as well and see if that looks really cute. I'm just going to pop that down, press a bit there. Make sure that side's looking good. Yeah, maybe a bit too much paint on that side. I'm quite pleased with that. Sweet. And then just that little bit of writing. I'm not going to use the whole thing. I'm just going to... What am I going to do? do that piece there. Far too much paint on my brush then. See, when I said don't put too much paint on, that's what I meant, where it fills all the crevices in. So I'm going to have to just dab some of that out and hope it picks up the detail. So yeah, really what you want to be doing is going over these highlights. I've gone way too much there. But like I said, you know, if I don't like this, I can, on these textured surfaces, wiping off isn't going to work, but you can just paint over it and do it again. And then I've gone over the bit that I said I didn't want to use as well. Okay, so I'm going to do that about there. I'm hoping this bit's going to work nicely. Yeah. What do you think? Sweet. Again, you know, with some string tied around and a label or something. Really sweet. Nice with some flowers in. You could, you know, leave the lid. Could be a nice vase. Cute. Okay, I've got one more of the the ones with the clasps. I'm going to put my paint away. I'm going to use one more transfer and then I'm done for today, guys. I'm hoping that there's loads and loads and loads and loads of comments when I come off. I hope. I'm going to use a garden seed one. I like the florals, and this one's got a pretty butterfly in it too. I think it looks a good size. So yeah, just to remind everybody that we're looking at the classic vintage labels transfer as well, because these all sit back nicely together. I've just dropped a piece on the floor. Where this has got a little bit bigger, this is going to fit on easier because it's not so much of a curve to deal with. Oh, I've just opened it. I can smell it had coffee in it before, even though it's giving it a really good wash out. So you see, you know, I know I've done a little bit of prep to get the pieces ready to have the stamps and the transfers on, but you can see how quickly, all of a sudden, you've got several projects done that all work together. There's that one. I don't know if it's easier if I show something behind it, you might be able to see it easier actually. Oh, right, there we go, you can see it a bit better. Really, really pretty. I love that. I love those looks. I think they're cool. So let's just, let's put them all together so you can see what we've been working on. There we go. And that one. And that one. And got some room at the front there, haven't we? That one. And let's just pop that down there as well. So we've got all these bits that we've been working on today with the so the two stamp sets that I've been working with is stripes and what's that one? one called again? Icy Paris, which is the kind of the labels. And then the transfer is the classic vintage labels as well. So I'm hoping that's sparked some interest in things that you could use these for, and projects, jars, vases. There's all sorts of small projects that you'll get finished really, really quickly, especially on these. Oh, we've got a really rainy afternoon coming. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch me today. Thanks for joining me. If you haven't already, my link should be in the description. If it's not, I'll go and double check. So drop by my page and give me some love. There's also a link if you haven't bought any of these products before, if you haven't connected with a retailer, there's a link there, so you don't have to go and find it. You can go and find yourself a local retailer or an online retailer. And join me again for the same time next week. And as I said, I hope to have a piece of furniture ready for you for next week. Not sure what yet, but there will be some furniture. Thanks guys, thanks a lot. Bye.